The two baddest fishing reels on planet Earth, the Daiwa Limit Breaker and the Shimano Antares Monster Drive. And what makes them so cool isn't, you know, their digital control chip that lies beneath within the reel, or even the way they look and feel in the palm of your hand. It's the way they both sing. From the surface, you may not realize it, but both of these reels pack a certain punch that sets them aside from the rest of the pack. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about these two amazing reels that came across the pond from Japan. I've always been quite the gearhead myself and been interested in cool, unique lures, rods, and of course, fishing reels. But these ones right here are beyond extraordinary, and I'm going to dive deep and explain to you why that is. For starters, we've got two right-hand casting reels, both very similar in design, but these are actually from two different companies. On my left, we've got a Shimano design, which of course is a Japanese company. On my right, we've got a Daiwa design, which is also a Japanese company. These two companies have a bit of an unspoken rival, and in order to understand why these reels are so special and important, we have to go back in time in the year of 2006, when Shimano released its first ever digitally controlled reel with a chip inside. This was monumental. The first reel they ever created was kind of the grandfather of all these other digital control reels that we have now in the United States. It used to be only an exclusive Japanese model. In order for us US anglers to get our hands on them, we'd have to purchase them through a third-party buyer or potentially eBay. But ever since then, Shimano has had the market in digitally controlled reels. They've been the only ones to put computer chips in a fishing reel, which is, even for 2006 standards, absolutely wild. That is all true up until last year, when Daiwa released this reel that I'm holding in my right hand. This is the Daiwa Limit Breaker IMZ, the first ever reel to compete with the long-reigning champion of digitally controlled reels, that being the first Antares, and it's now worked its way up to Metaniums, Curados, you know, less expensive reels that you and I can afford. But what we've seen Daiwa do is add a bit of competition to the mix. And today I want to see which one's better. They're both very competitive in their looks, their size, and what they have to offer. I mean, they're very similar. It would be hard to say that Daiwa wasn't maybe taking a jab at Shimano when they designed this reel. So we're gonna be putting these reels through a couple different tests as far as castability, durability, and strength. Both these reels are marketed to be big fish reels. But before we get to testing, I gotta go over some numbers for you fishing nerd heads. Here are the stats of these cars. Imagine we're talking about a Ferrari versus a Lamborghini. We're gonna go over essentially the 0 to 60 comparison, the curb weight, and just overall drivetrain of these two reels. Pretty insane numbers for what is considered to be a low profile casting reel. The Monster Drive, hence its name, is for everything between, you know, golden dorado, Amazon peacock bass, African tigerfish, but also can be used, of course, for flipping and pitching a jig, which is pretty wild. So to start off with, let's talk about price. Both these reels are very expensive, but one a little bit more than the other. The Daiwa Limit Breaker is $949. That is expensive. That was more than my mortgage payment when I first bought my house. Absolutely nuts. Then you've got the Shimano, which is a little bit less expensive, but still very pricey, at $562. Both these reels are gonna break your bank. So regardless of the price difference, they are both very expensive. As far as weight goes, they're very competitive in weight. The Daiwa is gonna be a little bit more heavy with 8.9 ounces, whereas the Shimano is only 8.4. These days, the light of the reel doesn't really matter. I think everyone's kind of comfortable with holding a 7 to 8 ounce reel. Both very light for how much equipment they pack within both of these tools. The Daiwa can hold 135 yards of 14-pound test, whereas the Shimano can hold 130 yards. Daiwa tips the scales a little bit in their favor here with their drag rating. The Daiwa drag's got 16 kilograms, which is roughly 15 pounds of max drag, whereas the Shimano only has 6 kilograms, which is a little bit less. Still very close though. And of course, both reels come with their own proprietary digital control casting reel. Of course, Shimano's has been around for decades, whereas Daiwa's a little bit newer to the game, and that's what I'm curious to figure out, where the Daiwa sits. Like, have they been kind of slowly watching Shimano develop their product, and then have they made something even 100 times better? Or is this something where Daiwa just created something from the base level and they hope to work their way up and create a lineage of digital control reels themselves in the near future? That is our plan to find out. Now, let's see what these reels are made of. This first test I want to conduct is going to be a long distance casting test. Both reels are fully spooled up with fresh 17-pound fluorocarbon, and each reel is set to a very similar setting. Even though Daiwa and Shimano have two different proprietary technologies, you can get these reels dialed to a very similar state in which they're going to cast equivalently. So we've got this one set to medium under fluorocarbon, which is the F setting, and on the Daiwa, we've got it on medium setting, set on standard, which is just about for any other lure. And we're going to see how far we can cast two different size lures, one of which being a 2-ounce swim bait and the other being a 1/4 ounce jig. Without further ado, let's see which one comes up on top. Up first, we're gonna be making 5 casts with the Shimano Monster Drive using the 2-ounce lure. Let's get the first cast underway. Wow, that one went far right cast. All right, first one down. Cast number 2. Ooh, that one got a little distance. Oh. Pretty much the same spot. A little bit farther. 1, 2, and 3. Each cast is going farther and farther. Getting an absolute workout right now. All right, what are we on, number 4? Cast number 4. Oh, come on. Oh, that was short. Damn. The last and final cast. Get there, get there, get there. Ooh, that kind of moved. I think right there is where it landed. That's the farthest cast. We've left the farthest marker out there to now see if the limit breaker can make it at least to that marker or past it. That's kind of the goal, is to figure out which one is casting the farthest. This is kind of a crude experiment, but this is at least something to give you guys an idea as to how far these reels can send certain types of baits. Next, we have the Daiwa limit breaker with the same exact 2-ounce lure. Let's see if the limit breaker can break the record. First cast. All right, that one didn't make it too far. That one did not go too far. I'm giving it the same amount of oomph too, same cast too, just doing a sidearm roll cast. Oh, that one got some air. That one got some air. Ooh, that was close. The reel also beeped at me too. All right, cast number 3. Oh, wow, that one went. That one went. Ooh, that's close. Ooh, that is really close. Getting closer, getting closer. Cast number 3. Oh, about the same spot. Accuracy is on, but distance not too much. This is the last cast and last chance for this Daiwa to really send it. Although I don't have a whole lot of faith it's gonna get there much farther. Let's see if we can. I'm not gonna try harder, I'm just gonna cast what I've been casting. Oh, that was really close. Let's see how far that one got. That was literally almost directly on top of where the Shimano landed. I mean, we're talking about 16 inches difference. That's pretty nuts. Wow. So throughout the video, you guys will have a nice aerial view as to where these casts actually landed. Not all of them landed in the same area, but as we continued to cast throughout this, it seemed like the lure was getting farther and farther for both reels. The Monster Drive did outcast the limit breaker, but it's not saying much because the limit breaker got about 16 inches from the farthest cast out of 5 casts with the 2-ounce lure. It's technically not a tie, but I would say it's pretty damn close. Granted, we also got variables too. For example, each cast wasn't brought with the same force, and we've also got a bit of wind too, so there might have been a bit of wind blowing on some of those casts. However, both reels perform really good. We're gonna measure both casts and give you guys an actual number as to how far each lure got. All right, we've measured out each farthest cast out of 5 for both of the reels, and it looks like Daiwa reached 34.2 yards with the 2-ounce lure, but Shimano came up on top, but just barely, with 34.6 yards. It's quite a long cast for any lure, especially a giant one of that caliber too. Now, let's test to see which reel is best at casting a lure that only weighs 1/4 of an ounce. Smaller, lightweight lures is not where either of these reels excel, but I wanted to do both sizes and weights. So we started off with a 2-ounce swim bait, which is actually an ideal lure to throw on the Monster Drive and Limit Breaker. But now we're gonna test to see how these reels fare on a 1/4 ounce jig. Mind you, it's still pretty windy out here, so this should be interesting. We ended on the Daiwa, so let's start on the Daiwa for this next one. First cast going down. All right, here we go. That went a lot farther than I thought. It's kind of interesting, the Daiwa doesn't have that famous whine like the Antares does. You can kind of hear it like clicking or chirping periodically through a cast, and I think that what's going on with this reel is it's feeling when there's a little bit of looseness in the spool and when you're about to backlash, and it's stopping that spool from you know, blowing up line in your face. It's kind of a cool noise, and interesting to hear the reel at work in real time. All right, cast number 2. Oh yeah, that went a little farther. Cast number 3. Wow, they're getting farther each time. This is weird. Cast number 4. Oh no. Ooh, almost had a backlash, but I heard the brakes working. That one got some serious distance. Final cast for the little jig on the Limit Breaker. Oh, that one didn't quite make it that far. Nice. We've left our farthest cast out there for the Daiwa. We're of course now on to the Monster Drive. Monster Drive's throwing a little tiny baby lure. Let's see if we can beat the Daiwa's score, Daiwa's high score. First cast. Ooh, same thing. Almost had a backlash, but the digital control locked her up. No overspoolage. I feel like that got pretty close. Oh wow, really close. Really close. First cast, really close to the Daiwa's record. Cast number 2. Oof. Almost a backlash. Almost. This wind is testing, really testing the reel right now. We're on number 3. I don't know if that went very far. 2 more casts for the Monster Drive. Oh! That one went. No way. No way. Well, so far, it looks like the Shimano just beat the Daiwa by quite a bit on that 4th cast, but just for the sake of continuing this experiment, we're gonna throw the last one out there, see if we can beat its own record. Oh, there it goes. That one went, again, almost a backlash, but that is the beauty of a digital control reel. Stopped it in its tracks. Tied, nearly tied with its last cast. Whew, unreal. The verdict is in. With the 1/4 ounce lure, the Daiwa was able to get a long cast of 27.5 yards, whereas the Shimano Monster Drive came up on top again with roughly 30 yards of casting distance. I was very surprised. At first, I thought the Limit Breaker was gonna break the limit on some of those casts because it performed so good. There was a couple times where we get a nice little breeze and I felt like I was about to bird's nest and she just adjusted herself. Same goes for the Antares, but I felt like it felt a little bit more wiry, and that's probably why I was able to get some more distance. It just had maybe a little bit better control of that light lure. Granted, this is a John B experiment. This is not in a controlled environment, but I think that's what makes this little test beautiful, is because you won't normally be casting indoors, correct? You're not normally gonna be casting on a beautiful, calm day. There's gonna be always variables when fishing. That is what fishing is all about. And with this, hopefully you have a better idea as to which one is the better sharpshooter from a long ways away. Now, let's see how strong these reels actually are. What makes these reels so special? The simple answer is inside. Both of these reels come equipped with a computer chip that doesn't necessarily help you catch more fish or tell you when you're about to get a bite, but what it does do is help control your casting ability. So while both these reels have digital brakes in them, each system is a little bit different. Shimano's braking system is called DC, which stands for digitally controlled, whereas the Limit Breaker has a system called Intelligent Magforce. Now, the DC system for Shimano has always been tried and true. It's been around, like I said, for many years. And how it works is actually pretty straightforward. Inside of this reel is a computer chip, and it sends electric signals to magnets to tell when that spool is spinning too fast and when you're about to get a backlash. And inevitably that helps you get longer casts and fewer bird's nests, which is very important when out in the water fishing. Now, while both of these reels have chips inside of them, the Daiwa's casting system is a little bit different. What Daiwa's incorporated with their reel is actually a software system that pairs from your phone with the reel in of itself. Shimano has never done that. They've kept a very similar system and design, whereas Daiwa's now introduced this way of controlling how your reel breaks through just a touch of a button on your smartphone. I'm still a little new to Limit Breaker, but from what I've gathered through looking at Daiwa's website is that this reel has a couple different settings. You've got blue for standard mode, yellow for PE or braid mode, purple for long cast, and light green for max break mode, which would probably be used for very windy situations. While there's only 3 pre-programmed braking systems on this reel, you can actually add more through connecting it with your phone, and apparently Daiwa is updating their software very frequently, adding different braking modes, so inevitably you could have almost an infinite amount of braking modes with this reel, whereas you're only limited to a couple on the Shimano, which are XB for heavy lures, F for fluorocarbon, P for braid, and N for nylon. So the braking modes on this reel are mainly meant for large lures and different types of line, whereas with this reel, you do have some braking modes for different types of line, but you also might have different braking modes for certain types of lures, meaning smaller lures, bigger lures, topwater plugs, spinnerbaits, jigs. It's kind of interesting. It's hard to tell which one is better, but one thing I will say is Daiwa's definitely pushing the envelope as far as how many different ways you can break a reel depending on what you're using out on the water. I will add one major interesting difference between these two reels is you don't have to charge one, but the other requires a Type-C USB, which I'm not sure how I feel about, but I guess we'll find out today as to how practical that is. Daiwa says that in order to use this digital casting reel, you have to charge it overnight, and it takes a little over an hour to fully charge. I'm not sure how long that charge lasts because a lot of what is on Daiwa's website is in Japanese. However, I would imagine it lasts some time. Before we get this one kicked off, I want to add a bit of an asterisk to our last test, only because when we were in here respooling these reels up with some heavy duty 65-pound Guggen braid, I noticed that there was something that the Daiwa had to offer that was absent in the design and technology of the Antares Monster Drive. And that is that it seems like the Daiwa has this ability to break on command, whereas the Shimano's only got one setting. Like the DC, that being the digital control chip, is running at all times. The Daiwa seems to slow the spool down only when it feels like it's needed. And here's a perfect example of that. We had a really nasty backlash pulling line out, that being that 17-pound test, upon our first strip, whereas the Daiwa, we continuously were able to strip line off to reveal more of the spool, and it never once looped up. Pretty interesting. Although that little anecdote wasn't a part of our experiment today, I definitely feel like it is worth mentioning given the fact that the Shimano performed very well on the castability, whereas the Daiwa might have actually been helping us get fewer backlashes out there. But anyway, on to our next experiment. This one is all about power and strength. The reason why we're about to proceed into this test is because both Daiwa and Shimano emphasized that the Limit Breaker and the Antares Monster Drive are two very powerful reels capable of catching not only freshwater fish, but big saltwater fish. Therefore, what we're going to do is we're going to spool each reel up with some heavy-duty line. And on the end of that line is different amounts of weight, all the way from 15 to 20 to 25-pound dumbbells. Again, this is a janky John B experiment, but it'll give you guys an idea as to how much drag and how much force and how much power these reels yield, because it's important. These reels are made for big fish and big species. The drag is completely locked down as far as it possibly can, and we're gonna see what happens. Oh, we've got movement. It's pretty impressive. So 15 pounds is what we're able to winch in. By the way, I want to add, the Shimano Antares DC does not have 15 pounds of drag. I think it's maybe just got right at 15 or maybe a little bit less. It was 6 kilograms, so someone do the math for me. It'll be posted right here. That was pretty impressive. Let's bring this weight back and add some heavier lead. to this test. Out with the 15 and with the 20. All right, we're upgrading the weight. 20 pounds. Let's see if we make it happen. Oh, it's really struggling. Can I tighten it down more? Oh, there we go. A couple extra clicks with that star drag and we're moving it. Damn. Okay. Let's see if we can reach. Boom. It's a lot of weight. 5 pounds extra and seems to be cranking good. The line's not cinching too much, which is actually really impressive too. And we moved the weight from the end of the table. The Antares has dominated 15 to 20. Now time for an extra 10 pounds from the beginning test. Might I add, if this cranks it in, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna have to add some more weight to this reel and see what happens. You ready? Okay, 25 pounds. Ooh, I feel like we're gonna break a knot here in a second. Oh, it seems maxed out. I don't know if I can do it. Oh no, she's coming. She's coming. She's coming. She's coming. Oh my gosh. That is super impressive. Wow. To think the Antares has got that much power, that's unbelievable. Granted, there's a little less friction with the cardboard underneath, but still, what reel do you know of that can do that? I should say, what low profile casting reel do you know of that can do that? I thought that these reels were gonna max out at 25 pounds. I didn't bring anything heavier. Luckily, I found two 15-pound kettlebells, which, if my math is correct, that equates to 30 pounds of kettlebells. We'll tie a nice overhand knot and see if the reel can handle 30 pounds. Oh, I'm so worried about this braid just coming back in my face. Oh, come on. Do I have any more drag left? Got a little more. Come on. Come on. Come on. Move it. Move it. You got it. You got it. You got it. Oh. No, that's it. She tops out. 15 to 20 to 25. Stopped at 30. Whew. That is wildly impressive, though, I will say. For a reel of this size, this reel is the same size as like maybe a 150, just regular bass fishing reel, and was able to do that. It's nuts. That is nuts. I think the Monster Drive is living up to its name. Now let's see if the Limit Breaker can break the weight. The Limit Breaker has locked drag and she is ready for cranking. By the way, on paper, this reel's got more drag and a little bit more power than the previous Antares Monster Drive, which we just tested. So let's see if that holds true in real life. Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. Just shaking and baking, look at that. Love to see it, love to see it. 15 pounds, done and dusted. Let's go right to 20, see what happens. All right, 20 pounds for the Limit Breaker. Let's see what she's made of. Oh boy. I will say, this thing is cranking in these dumbbells a lot easier. That required no effort. Should we just go straight to 30? Let's go straight to 30. I have faith in this. If not, we might have to figure out how to conduct this experiment, but here it goes. Limit Breaker versus 30 pounds. Dude, that's unbelievable, with ease. I'm talking with ease. It took it right off the cardboard, slid it right to the handle of the reel. Oh my gosh, dude. I say we keep the experiment going. Clearly, the Limit Breaker is much more powerful in winching than the Antares. With that being said, let's add more weight. Let's do 40 pounds. 40 pounds, let's do 40 pounds. 40 pounds we're now testing on the Limit Breaker. We jumped a whole double digit. Let's see if we can do it. Oh, it's struggling now. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my gosh. That is unbelievable. Well, we could keep going as far as weights go and continue to add more dumbbells, but it's clear and evident that not only does the Limit Breaker have more drag, but it's got more power. I think people forget that. There's a difference between power, gears, and drag. Like, That's impressive. Like, that's absolutely enough. I don't think I have a reel in my bass fishing arsenal that can do that, especially one that is that small. You have to take this in consideration. Most of you at home are probably thinking, you know, my Penn Senator 130 can do that. Well, yeah, of course, because you can't fit that in your pocket. But these reels, you could literally put in your pocket. You could smuggle these reels across a border if need be, if you know what I'm saying. Or you could pack them in a light travel carrier and go to other lands and catch other cool different fish species that fight way harder than bass. I am honestly shocked. That was something that I did not expect from the Limit Breaker. While it seemed like the Daiwa was getting some more long distance cast, I actually know that the Daiwa was a little bit more on the bulky side. It's been hitting a little more creatine. So it's good to see the Daiwa get 1 point over the Shimano. Now it is time to take these reels into a real world element and fish with them. We're at the lake and it's time to do some actual fishing with the Limit Breaker and the Monster Drive. All the tests that we did today are just simply analytical. What really matters is how a reel or any equipment fishes. Therefore, that's why we are on the water's edge right now, hitting it from the bank. I will preface, I did get a chance to fish with both of these reels yesterday off the boat. It wasn't the most amazing fishing day, but we had some interesting moments and I got a better grasp as to how I feel about these reels personally. Oh, shit. This just came off. How did that come off? Whoa, dude, I thought I just lost the side of the reel. That was super scary, and I've just backlashed. Well, that's super weird. It's not good. This video is not to skew you in any direction or the other. I'm just simply showing you some of the facts and giving you guys my overall opinion. With that being said, I love both these reels, but for different reasons. Getting to fish the Antares DC yesterday made me realize how much I love the way this reel feels in my hand. It's a lot smaller than the Limit Breaker, and it feels less bulky. But there are parts of the Limit Breaker that I like a lot more about the DC. For example, its ability to not free spool too much in your hand and limit those nasty and annoying backlashes that us bass anglers, or I guess anglers alike, just absolutely hate. I've got one spooled up with braid, one spooled up with fluoro, throwing a frog and a bladed jig, and we're just gonna see if we can catch some fish today. I don't know. Even if it's just one fish per setup, that would honestly make my freaking day. Let's see if we can make it happen. Oh, there we go, there we go. That was so nasty. That was so nasty. Within a matter of a few short casts, we have our first fish on the Monster Drive. Caught and landed on nothing better than a freaking filthy frog. That's so cool, dude. Wow, it is so neat to be able to use a reel that is intended for stuff like this, a little bit of bank beating for largemouth, but also overseas tactics, you know, going out there chasing giant predatory fish. Nice healthy 1 pounder. Look at a gut on him. Kiss him, spank him, send him back. See you later, fellow. I salute you, and as does the Monster Drive. So, while we're on the topic of the Monster Drive, I will say prior to this video, obviously I use both reels, but I've definitely had more experience with this specific one over the other. The Daiwa was new, to be fair. The Monster Drive's been out for literally, I don't know, almost 8 years now, and I bought it when it first came out, and I was overly pleased. Actually, one of the videos that I watched that got me to purchase this reel was a video by the name of Gong Lei. He's like this extraordinarily talented, not only fisherman, but just like caster, if that makes any sense. Like, he's really good at like pinpointing casts and getting in the strike zone for giant fish. And he's got a couple videos where he literally catches giant trevally on this reel. And he catches big Cubera snapper, Papua New Guinea black bass, and barramundi. It's absolutely nuts. What the hell is that? Is that a bass? It's a carp. Wow, it's a big carp. Sorry, I lost my train of thought looking into the water. Just to add more emphasis on this reel being absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the tests that we ran today really don't do this specific cranker justice. This little tool right here is capable of doing some extraordinary things. And I believe the limit breaker is the same. And I'm hoping over the years we get to take the limit breaker overseas and show you guys as to how awesome this reel is. Just watching that reel crank in, what was it, Caleb, like 40 pounds? Yeah, 40 pounds with ease is absolutely absurd. I mean, I think it's undeniable that that reel is ready to go for big saltwater species, that being, you know, snook, big redfish, not to mention some of the ones that you find in Australia, like the barramundi. But for now, we're just having fun with it, getting tranquil and casting a frog on the bank. Oh! I just stepped on him. I looked behind because I thought I like stepped on like a bone or something like that, and it starts moving. Okay, we're on to the IMZ. Got this geared up a little bit different. Same rod, just different class of line. Instead of 65-pound test, I'm throwing 17 fluoro, and we're throwing a moving bait. This reel, from yesterday's experience and obviously now, still feels really good. And I think the braking is honestly a hell of a lot better. This is super sophisticated, and I'm not sure if it justifies the price tag that it is merited, but I mean, dude, it really has Shimano numbered as far as actually being an intelligent braking system. I hate to say it, but I think Shimano's gotten a little bit lazy over the years just by sticking the same or similar DC chip in a lot of their different models, you know, because it's not just the Antares Monster Drive that has a DC chip in it. It's, you know, the less expensive SLXs, which are really good too. It's the less expensive Corrados, and even the Metaniums, certain models of Metaniums have the chip in it too. And they all serve a very important purpose, and that is, you know, increasing casting distance and reducing them backlashes. But dude, something about this reel just feels different. It really does. I like it. I mean, I don't have any complaints. I don't have any like major complaints with each reel. Like I've got little minor things that I wish they'd change, like with, you know, Daiwa, I wish that they would make this reel a little bit smaller, but granted, it's for big fish and I have to keep that in mind too. And I wish it wasn't so expensive, because I think everyone deserves to own a reel like this. And with the Shimano, I think that, like I said, they've just used a same to similar technology over the years, and then maybe they've gotten a little bit lazy in a sense. I hate that word, but it's the only thing I can think of. And the other thing with the Shimano Antares is if you're gonna brand your reel as a monster drive, you gotta outperform the competition. The Limit Breaker has the Shimano beat, and this is a reel that is new to the scene. So, I don't know, those are just some things to keep in mind, some things I've been thinking about while using both of these setups. They're both fantastic though. I mean, I don't have any major complaints one over the other. They have their ups and downs equally. Fish. Fish. Fish for the Limit Breaker. We have a fish. Oh! Is it a barramundi? Is it a tigerfish? No! It's... Maybe it's just grass. No, there's a fish under there. I see him. Whew! To even the playing field, we caught a fish on both. And in typical Daiwa Limit Breaker fashion, we winched her in with an absolute ton of grass. A 1 pounder turned to 5 with all that vegetation. Nice, dude. Not as big, but equally as fat and healthy. Thank you, little stinky. See you later. Ooh, ferocious. I got one. There we go. Ooh, that's a better one. Ooh, better one. Better one. Oh, that's so sick, dude. Look at that. Oh, she's in the grass. Come on, Limit Breaker. Do your thing. Get him up and out of there. Is it even that much bigger? No, but my gosh, through the weeds. Definitely adds a bit of bulk. Oh, it's so cool to actually leave the John B. Laboratory and head to the outdoors and use these reels for what they're intended for, and that is catching fish. Oh, that cabage. It's a vegetarian bass. One last look and we'll send him back. See ya, Bubba. Give him the old Bill Dance. Give him the old Jimmy Houston and send him back. That wasn't Bill Dance. Snake again. Dude, they're everywhere. Yeah. Oh, no way. That was unbelievable. That was unreal. That was unreal. We literally called that shot. Kelvin, I was like, oh, imagine if one eats this, I'm burning it in. Oh, well, oh my, it just popped off. I think this is a pretty good fish to end on. 2 fish for the limit breaker and 2 fish for the monster drive. Gotta love it. So the question still remains, and it's honestly up to you guys after observing today's video. Which of these reels is better? I know it's a tough question, it's a little harsh considering both have different attributes to offer to the table. They're not the same, but they're very similar, and it's very obvious that these are 2 very big rivals and competitors. That was, I believe, the whole reason why Daiwa released this limit breaker. I personally have a hard time choosing. I'm biased because I have used Shimano monster drives over the years, and they've caught me a lot of big fish outside of just bass, big peacocks. I've caught tigerfish with them. I've caught, big saltwater fish. It just, to me, really is up to the viewer. You let me know in the comment section below what you believe is the better reel. Who is the victor? Or maybe it's a hard decision and we have to decide on them both being unique in their own different ways. But I will say, I think both these reels have a place in my arsenal. They're both incredible reels that have a lot to bring to the table. And I think you should look at these reels as not just freshwater bass reels. These are reels that I plan on taking on international trips. I'm almost certain that both these reels will outlive a lot of the casting reels you have in your boat, kayak, or your garage right now. I just feel like they're made very well, and Daiwa and Shimano always is notorious for putting a lot of quality into their product and a lot of passion, and I appreciate that as, a passion angler like myself. Anyway, if you want to see more content reviewing cool, unique, and maybe odd fishing gear, drop a comment down below. This is kind of how I got started with my channel. I would sit in my parents' basement or outside of a parking lot and talk about interesting reels, whether they be Japanese or American, and I'm very fond of filming videos like this. So let me know in the comment section below if you want to see more content like this. I bid farewell to all you beautiful wieners out there. Thank you for watching today's video, and we'll catch you on the next one. As always, folks, keep fishing, never stop.